What's up and welcome back to the Kinda Funny Gamescast. Of course, I'm Tim Geddes and I'm joined by the new face of video games, Blessing Adeoye Jr.
What's up, Tim?
What is up, Bless? Joining me as well, the Nitro Rifle, Andy Cortez.
What's up, Tim? What's up, Tim?
It's great. That's going to be in my head for the next week and a half, man.
Party mode, everybody. Go watch Party Mode.
Nice little earworm. And rounding out the group today, we got the big daddy, Greg Miller.
Hello, Tim.
Hello, Greg. How are you? Haven't talked to you in a while.
I'm good. It's good to see you. You ready for SummerSlam?
Oh, I'm ready to SummerSlam. For people that don't know, Greg and I are going to WWE SummerSlam in Nashville, Tennessee.
Hey!
Yeehaw! You know
Music
what I mean?
City, ladies and gentlemen. We're going there, and they're not going to know what hit them.
I'm so excited. What are your hype levels right now?
Oh, off the charts. You kidding me?
Yeah.
I love Nashville in general, but to go with you, Jen.
That's
Gia,
my thing.
Ben,
I know
the
this is a dumb thing to say, but I mean it.
Ben and the Nanny are going?
Yeah.
I'm more excited to hang out with you than I even am for SummerSlam. I feel like I need some good quality Greg friend hangout time, and I'm about to get that. So that's good.
Yeah, we haven't talked since you came over that one day for a barbecue, and we then only talked about work, and we worked.
Wait, Greg, but you like the TV show.
Nashville. I love the TV show Nashville. I went there, years ago for that, yeah.
Oh, okay. So you've been there for that.
I've only ever been to Nashville inspired by both my love of the TV show Nashville and when Mizzou was playing Vanderbilt.
Oh, okay. Good to know.
But I teamed them up where I went there and I went early. And so I got to go to the Bluebird. I got to go to set. I got to hang out with Chip. I got to meet Connie Britton, had a great time. And
this
then
will all be on the test for listeners in the future.
Exactly. Then all my Mizzou friends came and we went to the game and had a great time there too.
Oh, okay. Cool.
But now I'm excited to go back. I've been building a Google Maps thing of all the places to go, hitting up my friends in the restaurant and cocktail industries to get great recommendations.
That's exciting. You know what else is
exciting?
Good steak. I haven't been on a flight in years besides the SGF one to LA, which was like super quick. This is a real flight. This is like 4.5 hours, something like that.
100%.
I'm about to bust out this baby.
The
Nintendo Switch OLED. You know what I mean? It's not.
Don't forget too. You did volunteer to hold Ben the entire time.
The whole time.
I don't know how much time you'll be playing.
We'll figure that out. But I can't wait to Andy get into neon white.
Oh shoot!
Yeah, Timmy.
Bless, I'm a little excited to get a little into Live a Live that you're going to talk about later on this show. We'll see.
Hell yeah.
Great times abound. Of course, this is the Kinda Funny Gamescast where each and every week we talk about video games and all the things that we love about them. You can get it on youtube.com/kindafunnygames or roosterteeth.com. You can also get it as a podcast by searching your favorite podcast service for Kinda Funny Gamescast, and we'll be right there for you. If you wanted to get the show ad-free, if you wanted to watch it live as we record it, and if you want the exclusive post show that is the greatest video game show in existence, Kinda Feudy, you got to go to patreon.com/kindafunnygames, just like our Patreon producers, Fargo Brady, Delaney Twinning, James Hastings, Casey Andrew, Gordon McGuire, and Al Tribesman have done.
And I'll tell you right at the top of the show, not enough people are watching Kinda Feudy, because I just have had a dominant calendar year in Kinda Feudy on Bless Who and everything else. And I really don't get enough praise for it on Twitter. And Andy, as you know, I was trending on Twitter yesterday, but I'm not trending for being great at Bless Who, which I should be trending for as well.
I don't like you with that championship belt.
Well, you should come take it from me. You know what I mean? Come on. Couldn't even beat Johnny Ace, you clown.
Man, of course, you can go watch the season finale of KFW as well on youtube.com/kindafunnygames right now. If you don't have bucks to toss our way, that's totally cool. You can use our Epic creator code KindaFunny on all Epic Store and Epic in-game purchases like Rocket League and Fortnite to help support us. But enough of that. Today, we're brought to you by Chime and MeUndies. I'll get to that later. I wanted to tease for a conversation we're going to have later in this episode. The topic of the show. Give me it, Greg.
We're doing a cinematic universe thing.
Yeah. Oh, whoa. Whoa, that was cool. Thank you so much for that. A rare appearance of it on the Kinda Funny Gamescast. But we're going to be talking about, can video games have a Marvel Cinematic Universe? Can it happen? Will it happen? We're going to talk about that later. But first, we're going to talk about a whole bunch of our thoughts about video games, starting with Rollerdrome. I've been obsessed with this ever since I first saw it not too long ago. I feel like there's been talk about this game for a while. I totally missed out on it until, what was it? The State of Play?
State of Play.
That happened? Yeah. Where they're essentially like, yo, it's Tony Hawk's Pro Skater mixed with the slowdown mechanic of, aim to shoot, of a Max Payne, of a Breath of the Wild, right? That whole thing. And guns. So I'm like, cool. This sounds fantastic. Does it feel right? That's always my most important question when it comes to a Tony Hawk's Pro Skater-esque game. But before I give my thoughts, I'm not the only one that's been playing it. Blessing and Andy have both been playing it as well. Andy Cortez, I want to start with you. What do you think about Rollerdrome?
I am loving the video game. I think it's a lot of fun. It's engaging. It challenges you and has really awesome sort of optional challenges to do while you're in these missions. What Rollerdrome is about is it's the near future of the year 2030, and the government's all screwed up, and they have people essentially riding roller skates and shooting, I guess, these military people, and it's kind of like a Running Man,
military people.
I don't know what the hell they're called. They're just.
No, I know. It's funny what it's
The game calls it in-house players, which is a interesting name for military people. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very like, future apocalyptic type shit. These are the games where I guess this is our main method of entertainment, to watch these roller skaters in the Rollerdrome. And it's a lot of fun. I think it has a really good loop to it. It reminds me of some of my more favorite mechanics, like in Death's Door or Hyper Light Drifter, where you have to attack in order to get your bow and arrow ammo. In here, you have a bunch of different guns that you can eventually start unlocking. You start off with just the dual pistols, and you do a bunch of tricks in order to reload your ammo. And the game keeps on progressively getting more and more difficult, and more enemies are introduced that really kind of are there to just be a nuisance. There's a lot of shit that's just kind of getting in your way, but I think at its core, it is a really fun game that I'm having a blast with. It can start off kind of tough, and then once you start hitting those difficulty spikes, you start kind of figuring out the puzzle of better ways to take out certain enemies without wasting a whole lot of ammo. And sometimes some of these enemies teleport whenever you do start shooting at them. It becomes this big pain in the ass. But at its core, it's a really fun game. The movement is a blast. I wanted to start off playing this on keyboard mouse, thinking that, the aiming, I'd need to be super precise with it. But as long as you're looking at them, it's sort of like an auto aim. It just sort of auto locks onto them. I think it's an absolute blast. It keeps on getting tougher and tougher. And I really enjoy trying to 100% it and seeing myself at I'm ranked 10 in the world, baby. But of course, nobody has the game. There's only 30 people, Greg. Doesn't mean much right now.
Blessing, what are you thinking about it?
Yeah, I'm also having a fantastic time. This is one of those times where a game so perfectly matches up to what the original trailer was, because we all saw that trailer together at PlayStation State of Play. And I think all of us were like, "Oh man, this looks rad. This looks really cool. What is this, Tony Hawk? What? It's an arena shooter. What is this?" And then you play it, and it's like, "Oh, this is exactly what the trailer is. Like what you're seeing is what you're getting, and what you're getting is fantastic." For the preview, we can only talk about the first 6 levels that we've gotten to play. And the thing that immediately struck me about this game was how much it is Tony Hawk. Andy mentioned some of the optional objectives. Those objectives are laid out like a Tony Hawk game, where it is, hey, get this amount of score for the pro score, get this amount of score for the expert score. In the game, they actually they say, hey, get more points than XYZ person, is how they contextualize it in world, because you're in this pro circuit of people that are competing in the Rollerdrome. But the way the game plays, right? You have your score, you have your tricks that you're doing. It throws me off a little bit, because the only trick button really is square. In a regular Tony Hawk game, you have circle for the grabs and then square for the flip tricks. In this game, it is square for the grabs. You don't have any flip tricks because you are roller skating. I don't know which actually. You're not skateboarding.
These are skates. I'm looking. These are roller skates right here.
Okay, cool. I didn't have a full screen. I didn't take the time to look at the feet of the.
You were too busy clicking heads. I understand. Ripping them to shreds. The Globetrotting headshot from Champaign, Illinois. Blessing out of you.
But that also brings me to another point of this game, which is this game has so much going on, and it somehow ties it all together in such a nice way, where it is 2 games in one, right? It is Tony Hawk, and then it's also this arena shooter. And the way that they make those things kind of play back and forth with each other is the fact that when you do tricks, that's how you reload your gun, and that's how you regain ammo. You do not have that much ammo in the game, and you have you start off with the dual pistols. You eventually get other weapons, but you only have a certain amount of shots in the dual pistol. It is not that much. And so as you're going around, you're taking out enemies. Once you get low on ammo, you have to go through, you have to do the tricks, you have to do the grabs, you have to rotate and get that score up in order to then regain your ammo and then continue taking out opponents. And in each of the levels, you have two goals basically. Your first goal is to take out all the enemies that are in the game. I'm sorry, that are in the arena, and then also your goal is to fill out all the objectives. Like Tony Hawk, you want to get as many of those objectives done as possible so that you can unlock the next level or the next set of levels. And it's constructed so smartly in a way that like it just comes together beautifully. I don't know how they thought of this
totally.
and were able to just execute it on it and have it just work. But I've been so impressed with the game, and the visuals I think are really dope too. It has kind of a unique style to it. It looks like Sable. If you played Sable, it has that kind of art style. And then music wise, I think music is maybe the one thing that I wish was a little bit more inspired. It has a techno soundtrack, but a lot of it feels like somewhat, basic techno. For a game that is trying to be Tony Hawk and also trying to be this fast-paced arena thing, I feel like you should either go like, oh, let's go for the licensed rock, licensed hip hop, let's get weird with it, or let's go for more interesting EDM. Let's do something like what Neon White did with drum and bass, or what you see a lot of these arena games do with their soundtracks and really get crazy with it or get more inspired with it. I think that's the one thing that I'm not loving as much. But overall, so far, I'm having a blast with this video game.
I wanted to point out one more thing before Tim gives his thoughts. There are two sections so far where you are in first person mode and you're kind of walking around these back offices that seem to be kind of like, these are the administrative offices of whoever kind of runs the Rollerdrome, and you have your lockers. And I think it does a really, I wouldn't say great job of world building. I'd say a really efficient job, because there's little notes here and there that just kind of show you, but that they'll show you exactly what's happening and who the competitors are and who the corporation wants to make the face of sort of the Rollerdrome. And like, we think we should push this person because they are really they're great on camera and they're really skilled and stuff like that. I think it does just enough for me to also really love that sort of role-playing vibe. Like reminds me of being a kid and playing a sports game as a kid and being like, wow, that's Andy Cortez, a shortstop for the Braves, and he's got a huge career in front of him. And it's just, I loved kind of hearing and make believing that I was actually in this world. And the fact that you are this character, Kara Hassan, and the media is talking about you. It's similar to like in 2K when you see people tweeting about you and stuff like that. It does just enough to kind of not only make me feel or not only make me enjoy the gameplay of it, but actually I want to know the story and I want to see where this is all going, because you can tell, like, obviously it's a pretty corrupt organization and they're introducing some pretty nefarious elements. And I don't know, I think it does a great job of just sort of setting the scene. Tim, what do you think?
Every once in a while, the clouds part, the heavens shine down, and they just give Tim Geddes a goddamn video game. And that is what Rollerdrome is. I can't believe how much this succeeded at what it looked like it was trying to be. This is a fantastic video game. I cannot wait to play more. The greatest compliment I can give it is 6 levels in. It didn't even take that long. 3 levels in, I'm like, what's the platinum on this? I'm getting
Oh my god.
This, I want to do every single thing that this game can offer me. Like, I love it. It is challenge based. It is the right level of difficult. I feel like so far I've been kind of cruising through it level to level, but then I look at all the things that I didn't achieve and I'm like, oh, that's going to be tough. I can't wait to do it. Like, it is such a rewarding loop. Like Andy was saying, when I first booted it up, like I was saying earlier, I'm always worried about the feel of a Tony Hawk game. Tony Hawk, it's up there as one of my favorite franchises. You guys all know that. I talk about it so much. I just love how tight it feels. Tony Hawk feels for a skateboarding game as good as Mario feels as a platformer. It's doing exactly what you want to do at all moments. You are fully in control. And other games have come close, but very few have ever matched it. I feel one of the only ones that have matched it are Aggressive Inline back on the PlayStation 2. That was another rollerblading game, and it was tight. It was fun. They just nailed the momentum of it all. This game does that in a way that I didn't expect, which is this control is actually very different than Tony Hawk. You're using the analog stick. You're not using the D-pad. And immediately I was like, oh, no. This is going to be the thing that ruins this game for me. It's not going to feel as tight as Tony Hawk because it can't, because it's an analog stick. That immediately after one level left my brain. This game feels exactly how it should, introducing the shooting mechanic, holding down that L2 button, it going into the slow-mo, and you having to do the tricks to get the ammo to kill people. But on top of that, you see here, there's a ton of these like rockets that are coming at you and you have to dodge them. It is just constant fun. It reminds me a lot of Doom, the Doom 2016, where you're constantly jumping around, you're
having
shooting
that dance.
It's that beautiful dance, and it's that it's the incentivization to keep moving, to keep going, be aggressive, and at the same time be stylish, baby. I love that. I'm with Bless that the thing I'm liking least so far is the music. It feels more like it is sound design as opposed to like music. But I love the levels. I feel like this is just such a beautiful tribute to old styles of video games. Like this whole little area here, it reminds me of like Time Splitters 2. Like there's just like such good nods to things that I've loved so much from video games past, but it has the arcadey goodness that I always love from video games, but it feels modern. It feels really good. Switching between the weapons as you go up a ramp, turn over, shoot with the dual pistols, change over to the shotgun, get that guy because his shield's about to build up, so you switch into the slow-mo. Oh my God, man. It is fantastic. I think that another slower bit for me is what Andy was talking about, these first-person moments. I don't think that I love them, but Andy saying the word efficient, I think kind of really changes the way I think about it. He's right. Like it does a good job of building the worlds and making the arcadey gameplay feel like it means more than it actually does, where you're just skating around shooting people, but having those moments of like the corruption and all of that. They don't give you all these crazy cutscenes and stuff. It's kind of just like dialogue you see or a little bit you read. I think they might have been able to do a better job gameplay wise instead of this awkward first person thing, but it's over within a minute.
It's basically a walking simulator, Greg. You're walking around just looking at an item, and some of the items you can just read on the whiteboard, because a lot of these rooms that you're inside of look like the marketing team is sort of planning this event, and they have all these little sticky notes all over the board and everything. You can just read the whiteboard, but there's tons of items around the world that you just click on, you look at, and it gives you a description of what it is. And I kind of feel like it's enough of what it is, Tim. I feel like if it were anything more, it would have been neon white for me, where I was like, I don't want to sit through these dialogue moments. I could just fast forward, which again, credit to Neon White, they just let you fast forward through all of that. But in here, I kind of just enjoy getting little tidbits of what's actually happening in this sort of fucked up year 2030, which I remember when we were watching, I was like, damn, that's not too far off. They're really predicting the worst here for us.
And honestly, some of the stuff there I think is not necessarily interesting. There's not been much that I've read through during those segments where I'm like, oh yeah, I want way more of this. But there have been moments where I'm like, oh shit, what's going on? Like there was a moment where I was walking around as Kara Hassan, and I like go up to a door and I hear arguing behind the door, and I'm like, who are these people and what are they arguing about? And then I walk to another door, open the door, and then immediately it starts the next level in a very smooth transition where I like
super smooth
open the door into now you're skating, and I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like they have those moments that they build in that I think makes it really cool.
And that's the thing, is the presentation of this game is, I mean, you can kind of see it even looking at it. We bring up Sable, but like it being this type of game that is so the kind of the gliding, right? There's a lot of just like momentum to all of it. Those transitions between where you think you're in this kind of slow story beat to, oh no, you're back in the action. You better get ready because there's rockets coming at you and you need to do some tricks right now. Like I love it that it keeps you on your toes and it's so fast paced. And I think that's another thing for me that I'm a little not in love with is the grinds. I feel like the grinds slow you down more than I'd like. I kind of wish that they gave you a bit more speed like Tony Hawk does. But I understand why they did it, because there is the arena aspect you have to play with as well here, where this is not Tony Hawk. Like I want everyone that is looking for another Tony Hawk experience to understand you're not getting that. The tricks are fairly limited, not just in the amount of buttons you can press, but even in just like what they're actually doing. You're kind of always doing a same variation of tricks over and over and over. But it's less about that, and it's more about combining that with the shooting elements, which you were doing so in tandem that it almost feels like it's not separate parts, where I don't look at it as skating and shooting. It's always like you're doing both at the exact same time, weaving it into the combos, and seeing the combo multiplayer come up there is satisfying when you're also killing motherfuckers. Like, it's just such a cool dynamic that I never really expected to see in a game. And I'm surprised that it works as well as it does. And
Tim, are you happy about there not being a punishment for bailing? I love it.
Thank you so much for bringing that up. It reminds me of Tony Hawk, especially in some of the levels that get a little more out there. Barrett, the level that you keep showing with the gray outside area. Yeah, thank you. There's a giant jump here where you're jumping between two big areas, and you can totally fall off of the course. And the game doesn't care. It's just like, okay, cool. You die for a second, but then you come right back. You're punished a little bit if you're trying to get the 100% challenges and all that stuff. But the momentum of the game isn't just in how it moves. It's the pace of it all, where it's like, it's not trying to get in your way. You know, it's trying to help you have fun. And I love you even see it there for a second on the left, the weapon wheel pops up where you then use the D-pad to switch between the different guns. It's really incentivizing you to keep moving, and your hands are constantly moving. And that's one of the things I love most about Tony Hawk.
Yeah. And just a comment on the bailing part. I also meant that, like, not just jumping out of the arena, but if you do too many spins or too many flips in Tony Hawk, you're hitting the floor and you're fucking dead, or what, you know, your combo's done. You have to get up back on the skateboard. And here you just kind of roll and you just go right into the next thing. So like it doesn't punish you for getting to, I guess, overconfident in what you can do on that one jump. It doesn't punish you if you happen to, like, oh, I'm not going to nail this flip right now. I should be landing on my head and totally just eating this, but they're going to let me just roll out of it and continue with the gameplay.
Yeah. And I think it has such a strong understanding of what it is, and how, like, in a game like this where there's so much going on, especially in terms of the action in the shooting, if you were bailing every now and then, it'd be like, oh fuck, all right, let's
so
get back
frustrating.
up. It'd be so frustrating. That's why I'm also down with them not having the balance meter for the grinding. The grinding is a little bit too easy, but like, I think it's fine. You know, that's another one where it's like, would I really want to manage another thing? Because this game has so much for you to manage. And to Tim's point about how
no balancing. Yeah,
no balancing. And to Tim's point about how in tandem the combat is with the skating. Another thing I do like is how they handle the combo meter, where you see like the number counting up for ×2, ×3, ×4 on your score. The way that number goes up isn't the same way as in Tony Hawk. Because in Tony Hawk, it is the more different moves you chain together, the higher that combo goes. In this game, it is, for the more people you kill as you're going, that's how the score goes higher. And so, like, if you don't kill somebody within like 5 to 10 seconds or whatever, that score might go down, and then you are resetting that number. But if you kill two people, it's at ×2. If you kill 3 people, it's ×3, and so on. So if you are just on a murder spree, right, and you're killing it, and you're also nailing the moves, that then ups your score. And the objectives oftentimes, like I mentioned before, are, you know, get 100,000 points, get 200,000 points, get a certain amount of score, and you are going for leaderboard and high score stuff as well. And that is such a great way to bring that together, where, you know, they know it's not Tony Hawk. They know they can't go get into that level of depth because of how much is going on, and they find ways to make up for it. And the solutions they find, I feel like, are so good and make the whole experience even way better for it.
Yeah. Having said that, it would be my favorite game of all time if it was just Tony Hawk with the balancing, with all of that, and just add hold L2 to shoot people. Oh my God. Difficult. Maybe the sequel, maybe add a difficulty mode. I don't know, but that would be so damn cool. Greg Miller.
My questions about it are, watching it and listening to guys talk about it, that there's two extremes where I wonder, number one, does it get repetitive ever? And just because you're just doing the same things, and I feel like skating games can do that, right? Where it is just like, okay, I'm doing the same ollie, nose grab, safety grab, whatever to do the thing. So you're kind of mindlessly playing. And then also, does it get frustrating of just like, I can't, like, I'm not getting enough points. I'm not advancing. This sucks.
I'd say the repetitive nature for me is, you know, inherently my fault, because I'm replaying the levels to try to beat my last score. And when you're done, you get the D rating. You're like, can I get up to a C? And you get up to a B, and you're like, oh shit, can I push this to an A? And what do I need to do to push it to an A, or maybe even an S rank? And all of that is just with the multiplier on the right that you're seeing. I don't find it boring or sort of monotonous yet. And I've replayed every level, I'd say on average, like maybe 5 or 6 times. Couple of them more, some of the more recent ones, I'm sort of going about it the way I did with Neon White, where it's like, okay, I should probably try to beat this game instead of playing the first several levels a million times. I'd say the only frustration I get is that some of the enemies near the end are built and designed to frustrate you and make you take longer. Not that they are more bullet spongy, some of them are, but to keep that multiplier up, you have to kill things faster. And some of the enemies that you meet near the middle of the game, you shoot them once and they teleport to the opposite side of the fucking course. And there are ways to combat that and sort of make that, or there's ways to help mitigate those issues. But yeah, that's the only frustration I get but that's me score chasing. Like I can just move on to the next level if I wanted to. It's more of me just making it frustrating.
You did this to yourself.
Yeah.
And I also think the vibe I get from the game is that it's going to be pretty short. Like again, we've played through the first 6 levels, and I don't know how many levels there are in total, but like for how quick it's going and where I'm at, like I guess in like the flow of the game, I'm like I wouldn't be surprised if this game is this is me throwing out whatever, but like maybe 5 hours long, and I think that's okay because of how much of it feels replayable and how much of it feels like you're meant to go back and get the challenges and chase the scores. The levels themselves also aren't that long. They're like in an arena, I want to say I'm spending like 5 minutes to go through a level, and so I'm going on to the next thing pretty rapidly. And then I'm off, like Andy again, I'm often choosing to go back and like replaying stuff, but none of that is a must unless I'm not getting enough challenges. And if you are paying attention to what the challenges are on your first run, it's pretty easy to go through and get a lot of the challenges. And I share some of the similar frustrations that Andy mentioned in terms of bullet spongy enemies. Like there's an enemy that has a shield where if you don't take them out fast enough, they'll bust out that shield, and that shield is then kind of difficult to get down, at least in a timely manner. For you,
it's more of a time thing,
combo. Yeah, because it's not that tough to beat them. It is it's tough to beat them before your score combo meter goes up, and that's kind of the challenge to it. But I think the way to mitigate it might be changing weapons. I'm still early in the game trying to figure out how that stuff is. So I imagine that like maybe for one enemy, the dual pistols is actually the way to go to get them down faster. Whereas for another enemy, it is the shotgun. Whereas for another enemy, it might be a different weapon.
There are some challenges that sort of nudge you in the direction, which is I think another really smart design thing is that there will be other challenges as you keep going that kind of help you beat enemies faster, and it kind of unlocks that thing in your brain of like, oh shit, I can do that. And it's just really smart in that way. Yeah, shooting the grenade launcher how to do it, and while it's in midair, then switching to slow-mo, switching to pistol, shooting them so that when they're getting hit by the pistol, then the grenade hits them and then they're out in one shot. It's just it's so brilliantly done, I think.
It's satisfying, and Andy, you're so right. It teaches you, and I think to Greg's point about does it get frustrating? Does it get kind of old? Like I think that there's always it's one of those beautifully designed one more match type games where when you complete the level, it immediately starts giving you your rank, and there's this bar that starts filling up, and it's one of those like, you know, when you play a mobile game and there's like 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, and you see it start filling up and it's so fast, you're like, oh my God, I'm in a 3 star. And it's like, it ends right before the 3 star. And you're like, well, I guess I'm going back. I'm so close. I got to do it. It's that type of game. And it's the best of those type of games where it does kind of teach you exactly what you need to do better the next time. And then you take that knowledge and it'll make the next level even better for you because you know how to take down different enemies, use your kind of weapon set and your trick set and all that stuff differently. I do think that, and this is coming from somebody that admittedly is biased as hell towards a certain style of skate game, that, you know, Tony Hawk 2-minute timer on that stuff. There is this like crunch mentality of like, you got to fit it all in as fast as possible. This game with the 5-minute levels, I think so far it does feel a little longer than I wish it did. And I do think a lot of that is less bullet spongy and more of what Bless and Eddie were talking about, where it's like sometimes the cooldown of if you mess something up, and it's not even mess something up, if you just don't perfectly get them from an angle, even if you weren't facing them, so you wouldn't even know they're there. And by the time you look at them, their shield starts to come up. You're like, well, that's going to add 15 seconds to this run of me kind of just running, like skating around just to let this like come back. that can get less fun. But I feel like that doesn't take away from my overall experience of this. I'm excited. I haven't been hit with the wall yet that I'm like, oh man, I don't know how to do this. And I'm hoping that happens. But also, like, this is my type of game. So I don't know that that's necessarily criticism, because it is fun as hell for me to play. And they nailed it in a way I didn't expect them to. I really hoped that they would. So can't wait to keep playing it. But it's coming out in just a couple weeks, August 15th, I think. PlayStation 5 and PC at the very least. I was playing on PlayStation 5. What about you guys?
PC.
I was switching back and forth between PC, Steam Deck, and PS5.
There you go.
I think I'm gonna continue playing on PS5. I don't know if it's optimized for the Steam Deck yet. I might need to dig into some of those settings to figure out certain things. But PS5, I think, for how smooth it runs and like the frame rate and all that, it's pretty great.
I mean, it's a pretty minimal game, so I don't think that they're. I think I see what you're saying, though, optimized for that actual piece of hardware, but
yeah.
I think it should be fine, especially with just how it feels controls wise.
But 3D audio and DualSense are fantastic in this game. 3D audio, hearing where the rockets are coming, I was like, this is so damn cool. And it does help with that, what I was complaining about a second ago, of you're not even looking at the enemy, but there are their shields coming up, that type of stuff. Like, you know where things are. So that's really cool. And then on top of that, the DualSense, the haptic feedback, when you're running out of ammo, you don't even need to be looking at your ammo count because you're focused on the skater itself, right? You know, because of the controller, I need to start doing tricks. I need, like, they do a good job of it. Feels different when you're getting low on ammo. So that's really, really cool. We're going to keep talking about cool video games, but before we do that, let me tell you about our sponsors.
Are people still trying to make plans with you this summer as if you aren't booked and busy already? You're just gonna have to tell them to try again in the fall. You've got pool days, pride parades, bachelor parties, and beach vacations waiting for you, because when you're living your best life, the last thing you want to worry about is butt sweat. I'm Greg Miller, and my butt never sweats because I wear MeUndies. You've heard it a million times. I like MeUndies so much. With my first pair, I bought a whole bunch more and threw away the rest of my underwear. They're the best. MeUndies has the lightest, most breathable fabrics to keep you cool and comfortable wherever you go. From undies to bralettes to socks to loungewear to swimwear, you can find something for all your plans. MeUndies also releases new prints all the time, like their limited edition Pride collection. Find your ultimate summer comfort in sizes extra small to 4XL. MeUndies has a great offer for my listeners. For any first-time purchasers, you get 15% off. For a limited time, if you sign up for their free-to-join MeUndies membership, you get 25% off your first membership item. To get 15% off your first order, 25% off your first membership item, and 100% satisfaction guaranteed, go to MeUndies.com/KindaFunny. That's MeUndies.com/KindaFunny. No one likes waiting on a paycheck, especially when you've got bills due. Good thing there's Chime. Now you can get your paycheck up to 2 days earlier with direct deposit. That's up to 2 more days to save, pay bills, and generally just feel good about your money situation. But Chime is about more than just getting paid early. It's also an award-winning mobile app, checking account, debit card, and optional savings account. So what are you waiting for? Hopefully not your paycheck. Get started with Chime today. Applying for a free account takes less than 2 minutes. Get started at chime.com/KFgames. That's chime.com/KFgames. Banking services and debit card provided by the Bancorp Bank or Stride Bank N.A. Members FDIC. Early access to direct deposit funds depends on your payer.
Now that we're back, Bless, you played a game that I'm surprised you played through. Live Live. I want to hear all about it. You gave your review on TikTok and all that stuff, but you haven't properly talked about it on a show. What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I believe it's called Live Alive, according to exactly one Nintendo video that I watched. I'm just saying, no, Live Alive is really cool. So I gave it the review on TikTok. I gave it a 5 out of 5. I think it is a fantastic video game. And funny enough, I think this game kind of confirmed to me a genre of JRPG that I do genuinely love, and it is that, like, Earthbound, Undertale, like the weird, quirky JRPG that has a really good sense of humor. Live Alive kind of fits into that category for me. What it is, for people who might not be familiar with Live Alive, right? It is an HD 2D game, right? So think about Octopath Traveler, think of Triangle Strategy. It is within that brand of video games. It looks incredible, has excellent presentation, all of that for Nintendo Switch. The premise of it is it's essentially like an anthology game where you have 7 different storylines that you can hop into. Each of them are part of a series of vignettes, and each of them take place in a different era. And so you have a present day story where you're playing as this fighter who Street Fighter style is going through, like, is traveling across the world to fight these different warriors so he can be the best warrior. You have a caveman prehistoric story where you're playing as a caveman who kind of gets into like this romantic thing with a woman who's like part of a rival tribe or whatever. And I love that one because there is no dialogue in that, like, because it's a caveman and they don't really speak. The way that he communicates, the characters communicate with
Really
each
generalizing here, huh?
listen, all right, we all know about those cavemen. No, the way they communicate with each other is via like emotes, and so you'll see, like, them like make expressions at each other via the dialogue box as opposed to actual text.
Laugh crying emoji.
Yeah, like that kind of thing. But then you also have a far future story, which is a scenario where you play as this little robot named Cube that a scientist makes, that is like on board a ship, and there's like a conspiracy happening within the ship. And that scenario is like a couple hours long, and it has no combat to it. Each of the scenarios have something that they do that is very unique to what that scenario is. There's another one that is it takes place in Japan during like the Edo period, and you're playing as this shinobi who has the ability to hide himself by pressing the Y button. You just go invisible because it's a stealth game essentially. And with that one, each time you get a kill, the shinobi will count up like, oh, I just killed 5 people, oh, I just killed 6 people. Like, each of them have a unique mechanic and a unique premise and a unique setup that makes the stories their own, and each of them are only a couple hours long. Like, they probably average out at about 2 hours each, maybe 2.5 hours each, depending on if you're taking your time or not. And with each of them, I found that playing this game took me back to watching Black Mirror for the first time, where I watched Black Mirror and I was like, oh man, episode 1 was fucking weird. I want to see what the next thing is. Oh man, what an interesting concept. Like, everybody is part of this game show. Let me watch the next thing. And like, each episode in Black Mirror had its own thing. And that is just anthologies. This one did that for me in like a 16-bit JRPG form for the first time ever that I've experienced in a way like that. I'm sure there are others out there, but like Live Alive, I feel like captures that energy where each day I was playing the game, I wanted more, and I was like, I'm gonna wait till tomorrow. I'm gonna play one scenario each day, and that's how I went about the game. And I had such a blast going through it. I think it has a good sense of humor. I think it has wonderful moments of writing, the different scenarios. I think the different scenarios pulled me in different ways. And yeah, like the game has so much heart to it, and it all is packaged in such a great way that by the end of it, I was like, man, I can't believe they are able to pull this game off as well as they did.
So I don't want to get too spoilery, but is it really just that this is like 5 different short games together, or are there any connective threads?
There are connective threads, and I don't want to get too deep into some stuff because some of it is what you kind of get out of it and like how you like identify certain things in each of the stories. But then there are things that in a deeper way, I would say that, oh, this is a full package. Like, one of the questions Tim asked when we were talking about the game earlier is, can you go in and play one of the scenarios and put it down and be good? And I would say no. Like, it is a game that is worth playing through all the scenarios because there is value in playing through everything. And there are moments of, okay, this is a full package. This isn't just a pick and choose. This is one video game, but for the way that it's presented, it is, okay, I'm starting off and I'm doing all these different things. But there's also other bits of connective tissue. Like, the combat system is the same throughout all the scenarios. It is this grid strategy-based combat system that is super simple. I'm somebody who doesn't really do strategy all that much. Whenever I see a grid combat system, I'm like, oh, I don't know if that's me. I respect those games, but not for me. Live Alive has a combat system that is so simple and fun and is taken advantage of so well from scenario to scenario in terms of creating different types of combat for that system, if that makes sense. Like, the martial arts storyline that I did, the present day one, it is very much okay, your attacks are going to hit one square. Like, you have a lot of close range attacks. Like, this is the kind of fighter you are. But then you might pick a different character that uses magic in their combat, and because of that, all of their moves are area of effect. Or you might have another character that is a gunslinger, like you've seen the cowboy stuff in the trailer. That character is pretty much all long range. And scenario to scenario, they make things feel fresh in that way for the combat, to where you do feel like you're almost playing different games, even though you're utilizing the one combat system, which I thought was pretty impressive.
It's weird. I thought you loved strategy games because of Mario versus Rabbids. I thought that was your favorite.
No, man.
That was your favorite game.
Listen, one day I might play Mario versus
One day I'll
Rabbids.
play.
I have no
You're gonna
promises
love
anymore.
it. You're gonna love it, Bless. But Square's HD 2D art style is absolutely incredible. You know, with Octopath Traveler, it really kind of came on the scene, and it blew all of us away. But that is a very old school, traditional fantasy based game. This being a whole bunch of different timelines and a whole bunch of different art styles, or I guess not art styles, but like just the environments, the vibes. Yeah, vibes is a good word for it. Like, how often were you just like completely wowed by the visuals of it? Like, do you think that, because just looking at this, it seems like the HD 2D was made for this type of game of like showing off so many different visuals looks.
Yeah, no, it is stunning. I was wowed plenty of times with the presentation, and I think you're absolutely right that the HD 2D works so well for it. I should shout out the fact that this is a remake. The original game came out, I believe, in 1994 for the Super Nintendo, and yeah, for them adapting a game that came out in '94 for SNES and making it into a new thing, it feels unreal in some ways, because there are some environments that I'll hop into. You know, there's an environment that is this Japan castle environment that I am infiltrating as this shinobi character, and I was utterly blown away by how a lot of it looked. And then taking that and then comparing it to the far future chapter where that takes place in a spaceship that is sci-fi, that has all this other stuff going on. The way that they make both those things pop and actually feel like, oh shit, I am playing a different SNES game now. I think they do it supremely well, and yeah, the HD2D is so impressive with it. And playing through this game made me want more HD2D games. I was like, dude, they gotta continue doing this. Like, I hope they never stop doing this. I want them to remake Chrono Trigger. I want them to remake Earthbound. I want them to remake a large handful of games that, you know, not everybody might have gotten to play during that era of games that could now feel new because of it. It is really impressive.
Bless, one of the things you talked about in your review, and then you talked about a second ago there, was not being a strategy game fan usually, but this being fun. Is it fun? It's interesting. Is it challenging? The way you talked about it in the TikTok, and I know it's a TikTok, so it's super short, kind of made it sound like it's just something you get through. It's not hard. Do you have to think about it, or is it easy, or like, am I reading too much into it?
No, it has moments of challenge, and I did have fun with it, and that goes back to the different ways in which they use it, and the different ways in which they translate. Oh, you're a cowboy gunslinger. This is what combat looks like, and this is what your moveset looks like. Oh, you're a kung fu master. This is what your moveset looks like as this person, oh, hey, you have magic abilities. This is what the way they translate it among all these different ways. Always made it interesting and fresh to me whenever I was using a different character. But then also, it is still a JRPG, and it still has a leveling system. But because these scenarios are only 2 to 3 hours long, the leveling system is much faster. You know, you're probably getting to maybe level 10, you know, level 12. There was one story where I finished, I was level 4. And for the moments where that stuff feels difficult, it takes maybe a few rounds of grinding. Like, it is not that intensive in terms of getting stuck and then having to grind like you do in a lot of other JRPGs. If you have to grind in this game, it is pretty easy and quick to do, and then you come back and the challenge is more fair, or you're stronger. And the game also has like the exploration element too, where you can go around, find armor, find different things to equip. But yeah, I think because it feels like bite-sized JRPGs with this combat system, that kind of allowed the combat system to, again, feel constantly fresh, but then also not be too punishing in any moment, because you had that option to go and grind for a little bit.
So from a story perspective, using the KindaFunny scale, what score would you give this story?
This story? Ooh. That's a good question. I'd probably give it somewhere between a 4 and a 5. It is going to hit different people different ways.
Okay.
You know, I probably actually story alone, I'll probably give a 4 out of 5. You know, like I compare it to things like Undertale and I compare it to things like Earthbound, but I'll probably say that those games still exceed the heights of this for me. That said, the ending of this game, the way things come together, and like not even the ending, like the last half of it, I think it's pretty impressive. You know, I was blown away by the way it comes together toward the end, and it there are bits of writing in this game that surprised me because like I was telling Michael Hyam this the other day that you ever like when you're listening to a Drake song and you hear a lyric and you're like, oh, that's an Instagram caption right there. There are most in this game where I was like, oh, that's an Instagram caption. Right there. That's a quotable right there. Like I can take that.
The way to rate it.
Yeah,
that's so fascinating. That's a great question, Tim, because when I see Blessing's TikTok, I know what type of gamer Blessing is, and I know usually what types of games he enjoys, even though, you know, he enjoys Persona and stuff. I'm not going to say he's never into strategy or turn-based type stuff. But I figured it was a 5 out of 5 because this is a story spanning 5 different things that needs to be experienced. So, like, what pushes it to the 5 out of 5 for you?
I think it is the experience as a whole. You know, the story itself, I think it's supremely well done and it comes together in such a special way. But that combined with how good the visuals and presentation are, combined with how good the soundtrack is, like the soundtrack is done by Yoko Shimomura, who's done Kingdom Hearts and who did this game originally, actually back in '94, along with a handful of other games that have incredible soundtracks.
Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah, like she does the soundtrack and it is great. One of the songs in here is a song called Megalomania, which it went on to inspire Undertale's Megalovania. You know, like there's a lot of good music in this game. But then also the gameplay, I think is fantastic. And it's the pace of it, you know, it's the creativity in it. There's so many other elements outside of story that, you know, story is involved in, but it's the way that everything comes together that for me really does make it feel magical in some moments where I'm like, damn, they really did this shit. I can't believe how good this is.
Is it a game of the year contender for you, Blessing?
Oh,
I'd say yes. You know, right now, Elden Ring is really locked at number 1 for me. But as I was playing through this game, I was like, damn, like I might put this above Sifu, and Sifu I think probably was my number 2. You know, like this is I would put this in competition with Horizon for me. You know, this game is a game that I think I would categorize as special, and I think I'm gonna think about this game for a long time. You know, this is a game that I think I'm going to years down the line even replay because it did hit those exact things that I'm looking for in a video game like this. And I also don't think this game is for everyone. If you're a JRPG person, I think for sure play this game. If you're a Super Nintendo RPG person, 1000% play this game. If you're an Undertale person or Earthbound person or that kind of game, for sure play this game. But I also don't know if it's one where I'm like every single person needs to play it. If this is your kind of game, I think this is gonna hit. If it's not, then it could be hit or miss. But I think this is one that is for sure it's a hit for fans of the genre.
Bless, you know me very well. You know the games I like. I'm going to Nashville and I'm taking this baby with me.
Hell yeah.
What do I boot up? Do I do Neon White or do I do Live Alive?
Oh,
that's tough.
Or
that's tough.
Do I do one Live Alive story and then some Neon White?
Dude, you got plenty of time, bro.
How much control my destiny?
That's a long flight, bro.
Yeah.
Or do you help out your friend Greg Miller and hold his baby the entire flight so he can play some video games, you know?
Can you imagine me holding a baby?
Think about Greg.
Honestly, it scares me, Tim. It scares me.
It's scary. It's really scary.
I mean, but Tim, Greg was trending yesterday.
Yeah, that's true.
Thank you for bringing that up, Andy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I say you do one scenario on the way there, one scenario back.
Now, so if I understand correctly, you get to choose what scenario you start with. Which one do you think I should start with?
Ooh, that's another good question. I started off with the present day one, which is the martial arts master, and honestly, that was not one of the better scenarios in the game. That one, it was fine. It wasn't bad or anything, but it was like, okay, all the other, this is definitely the worst one out of the 7. So I don't know if I'd recommend that one. Maybe
how's the Western one? Because when I'm watching all this footage, the Western one's the one that I think draws my eye the most. Where I'm like, that seems pretty cool.
Western one is pretty cool. That's also one of the ones that were put in the bottom half though. Like
that's where I started. I booted it up the other day, played only 10 or 15. I did Western, and I was like, I'm gonna move on to something. I'll be back maybe, but I went and played something else that I can't talk about.
Maybe do Near Future. Near Future is pretty meaty. That one might run you maybe 2.5 hours to 3 hours, but that one is also just really interesting and I think has a lot of fun stuff in it. So I'll say Near Future. You know what? If you want to taste the rainbow a little bit, I would say start off with Near Future and then make your second one Caveman. Because those are very different, and I think those.
I'm
even
gonna
two
be
different
honest.
sides
Like
of
this
the
guy,
coin.
this kid right here looks like a Tim Geddes ass. Like he's gonna. Like,
That's a character.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a Tim Geddes character right
Yeah,
there.
his name is
Yeah.
Akira too.
Good, good.
That's sick. Now,
Love
Blessing, me as a brand new Soulsborne player, what's a good class I should start off with?
Oh, this game doesn't have classes.
Oh, okay,
I mean, the classes are kind of predetermined based on the character. But you're
I
gonna
just feel like
play
that's the
through all of them.
question I've answered the most this
Play as a scholar. Play as a scholar.
I love it. Any final questions or thoughts on Live Alive?
Negatory.
Very good video game. Excellent video game, actually.
Wow.
I'm excited. I'm excited. Now it's time. Give it to me, Greg. For topic of the show. I love it. It's so cool, man. I don't
Yeah,
get
you
to
just keep
see
stealing my bits. It's fine.
I'll steal them till the day I die, Greg. We're going to talk about the MCU. It's kind of a thing that's been a little trendy recently. We're going to talk about video games. We're going to talk about the fact that Marvel Games for the last couple of years has been slowly building a presence in video games. Greg, you and I have that weird random incident, right?
Yeah.
Where we got invited back in the earliest of KindaFunny days to an Avengers Age of Ultron screening.
Private screening of Age of Ultron. I had a schedule. We're like, yeah, we'll go to that.
And it was the first private or first early Marvel screening either of us ever went to.
Yeah.
And we went in, got to watch this movie, and the movie was coinciding with announcements from Marvel about video games. And we're like, what could this possibly be? You know?
Yeah.
And they talked about some Telltale partnerships. They talked about like some other things, but
well, they announced Marvel Games. It was, it was
yeah.
Bill Roseman. It was Mike Jones.
Who?
And it was the first. It was like we walked in there, not aware of what we were about to get into, and then Bill and Mike were there, and then I was talking to them, and it was like, "Oh, this is Marvel. Okay, what's going on?" And it was, what I think is a very forward-thinking move. That was, hey, Marvel has tried making games and giving out their IP to all sorts of people, and they've tried starting their own developers, and no one's ever really watching what happens, and it leads to mediocre video games. So we're stopping that, and we are launching Marvel Games, which we will be the caretakers and picking the developers we work with, and we will go forward with that. And that has brought you Spider-Man, right? It has Wolverine on the way. It's brought you Avengers, Ultimate Alliance, the Guardians Telltale games for how long it is, a plethora of mobile games that are out there doing it.
Man.
But it was the start of all that. It was the start of them really being like, we're not just having some weird Marvel people who don't know video games give the license to Sega and you get a bunch of movie tie-in Iron Man games that are garbage. We're going to actually care about this. We're actually going to make these things.
Dude, I played the Marvel Guardians Telltale game when I still lived with Kevin's mom.
Yeah.
Jesus, that was so long ago.
Lifetime ago, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, well, dude, it was even longer ago that we saw Age of Ultron. Like, I'll never forget, Greg, us watching that movie and being like, yeah, it was more Avengers. Like, all right. Like, phase 2 was a different time for what the MCU was. There was not the same level of excitement, nearly, not even close to what we have now. And on the game side, they made these announcements, and we all looked at it and we're like, okay, this sounds great, but okay. And then we got mobile games. There's like Strike Force, I think, and like, or was that the new one? But the older ones that they had that people got really into. And then we got the Guardians Telltale, and everyone was kind of like, it's not really what we're looking for. And we had a couple examples of that. But then in recent times, we got Spider-Man, obviously, from Insomniac, them announcing Wolverine, Spider-Man 2. We got Miles Morales, like all the Insomniac stuff so far, knocking it out of the park. We have Avengers, which we have fans of here, but a lot of other people didn't really vibe with it that much.
A huge missed opportunity. I mean, like,
absolutely.
The fact that I enjoy playing Marvel's Avengers and put a lot of hours into it doesn't sit here and go, man, they nailed it. Knocked it out of the park, right?
And then, they've been building out too with the Ultimate Alliance on the Switch side. We now have rumors this week of a Black Panther game being made. We had
Guardians last year
at EA. We had Guardians last year, which on the kind of an opposite end, we have people here that really liked it, some people that didn't like it as much. But I think that there's an interesting conversation because bringing up Age of Ultron, totally different time, right? That was what, 2015? And here we are 7 years later. Like, it's nuts. Games have changed. The movies have changed. All of it's changed. We've talked for years, multiple times, about what can an MCU for video games look like? Can they replicate the magic that the movies had? Specifically, let's talk about what they ended up doing with Phase 3 and Infinity War and Endgame and getting all that stuff. Can they replicate that in video games? Should they replicate that in video games? All of that. We get Spider-Man. That kind of knocked it out of the park, and we're like, cool, when Avengers comes, is it going to be the same Spider-Man? No, it's not the same Spider-Man. We got the hints of, on the West Coast, the Avengers are doing some stuff, but like, we didn't really see it come together. Greg, I want to start with
they confirmed that wasn't the same thing, right? So that was just an Easter egg toss in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But like, there were those things happening, but it was like, no, these are very separate things. The Avengers are in their universe, Spider-Man's in their universe. Looking forward.
Yeah.
Do you think Wolverine is in the Spider-Man universe? Should he be in the Spider-Man universe?
I don't like the question. Do I think?
Because I refuse to answer.
Because I think it's. I mean, you're just making a bet, and there's nothing to. We're making educated guesses and going off of them, right? Like, if you were to do it and have characters share a universe, this would be the way to do it. When we talk about the MCU for video games, right? When we talked about, man, they're making a Guardians game and they had Spider-Man and his Avengers going to be in the same thing, it gets way too complicated way too quickly. Because even if you have Bill Roseman and the team at Marvel Games being there and overseeing all these different projects, it's impossible for them to be so boots on the ground, wrapped up in the scripts, wrapped up in the Easter egg dialogue, blog things you're going to collect in the video game, that it turns out that there's a reference to Black Cat in this thing that totally contradicts what you saw. Like, that's the kind of nightmare shit that ends up painting you into a corner as a creative. I think if it was going to be that, this is a great idea for your Guardians games, Eidos Montreal, right? But Spider-Man you're in the Spider-Man universe and he made a reference to whatever at this throw and you can't do it. Sorry. Like, that sucks. You don't want to do that. But if you wanted to have them share the universe, having everybody under the same umbrella at the same dev, having Wolverine be in the Spider-Man universe because it is Insomniac, that makes sense. Because suddenly I don't think you're talking about we are making an MCU for video games. You're talking about we're in the Insomniacs and Marvel universe. We're in whatever number they gave the Spider-Man universe. That's the number here. And that gets super interesting and super exciting. And I think that would be a really fun way to do it. And I think that does open it up to Easter eggs, right? Like, I don't think that to dial it back, and even if we're just talking about Insomniac, right? The question from the start of it would be, what does having a shared universe add for the player? And I don't think it's building to, it is Spider-Man versus Wolverine. That's the game. You know what I mean? I don't think that's where you want to go. So what is the end benefit of putting Wolverine in the Spider-Man universe other than a cool nod when he looks at the paper and we see the white spider and they reference him fighting Hammerhead or something weird like that? That's where you start getting into what is the end goal with it? Where are you going with it? So could I see it happening with Wolverine and Spider-Man? Of course. It's Insomniac. They're all working in the same building and the same things. They could easily do it and have it be there. But again, why? Like, do they worry about painting themselves in a corner and having Wolverine say something that then screws everything up? I don't know.
It's interesting you say that, because like I totally agree with what you're saying. I think that video games are so different than movies, and the MCU is such a particular specific thing that is I think the most important thing about the MCU is that it is the modern definitive version of the Marvel universe. Like, correct. It is a story from beginning to eventual end that is what they expect to be the quote unquote canon Marvel story. The comics will always exist. They will always mean so much to so many people, but to the majority of people, this is the story they're telling. Video games are different, both from a development point of view, but also from a gameplay point of view, and what you're saying of what does this mean to the player. Having said that, I think that them being within the Insomniac realm reminds me a lot of the DC universe, and instead of needing to shift the hierarchy of power and all that stuff, there are these moments of brilliance with like James Gunn, where James Gunn is working within the DCEU, but he has both Peacemaker and the Suicide Squad. And granted, that's a spinoff in a more specific literal way than Wolverine to Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But that world you can totally see existing together, right? Peacemaker and the show and Suicide Squad, the movie, makes sense. It also makes sense within a larger universe that sure, some things potentially might not connect perfectly, but overall they connect to each other and that matters the most. Do you think that there's a potential for Insomniac games to knock it out of the park and completely relate to each other, but then also coexist within a greater Marvel Games universe with like the Guardians from Eidos?
I think that's where you get into, I would not do that. It's Earth 1048 is the Gamerverse or Insomniac's Marvel Universe. And I just think that that's silly. It opens you up to too many different problems of what is the benefit there of it, right? Like, especially, you know, as much as Marvel in general is accepting of the multiverse and able to bring things in, it would be so easy to explain. If you had the idea for a video game, why? Hey, you know what? We do want it to be the Eidos Montreal Guardians and Insomniac's Spider-Man and Insomniac's Wolverine. They're in different universes for this argument. We do want them all together. You can explain that with a multiverse portal and be done with it and be ready to go. It's more, what is the benefit of here and how do you put something in the game here that doesn't distract from what you're doing, right? Like, I think that's the other big thing about it is like Easter eggs and cameos are cool, but if we're talking about Wolverine, come on, like there's an endless list of X-Men that you'd want to see in there, or if you're, new Fantastic Four or whatever the hell you're going to do, in the same way for Spidey, where it's like if I'm looking for a cameo in Spider-Man 2, and I'm already getting so many amazing things in Spider-Man 2 apparently, like, do I really need to see Wolverine pop up? Be like, well, bub, I'm going off to do this thing in Panama. See you later. And that's what I don't, like, that's fine. Just what is the benefit of doing it? What are you building to? And I think that's, something we can lose sight of in a way when we talk about the MCU, right? Of like, it wasn't done just to do it. It was to build to Avengers. And it was, in the best case scenario, to build to exactly what it is now, this global multimedia empire that's destroying record after record and going to go on forever and ever and ever. Like, they were building to something. And I just don't know what you would do with the Gamerverse to build to and why you would do it, other than to have it be, oh, that's cool, but then also totally paint people into a corner. Andy, you're
yeah, I think the industry is way too volatile and way too inconsistent to predict. We see studio directors leave all the time, and we see games get canned all the time.
Well, I mean, even for beyond that, we see so much consolidation. But go ahead.
Right. Yeah. I mean, like, I think there's just too many issues in the industry to really kind of try to have one unified voice or universe. And I think the only benefit of Greg asking what for, I think it really is just the excitement of a cameo here and there. Like, Yuri Lowenthal's Spider-Man is in Midnight Suns, but that's not the Insomniac Spider-Man.
Yuri Lowenthal's Spider-Man is in Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. And I think that's just a smarter way to do it. Of, man, Yuri fucking kills it as Spider-Man. So he's Spider-Man in all these games we want to do. And it's going to be that thing of, if to use the MCU stuff, he's a variant, right? It's just another universe, another thing, and you get to go that way and build off it.
I think if anything, Tim, it could be just teases to maybe gauge excitement levels. Like if we see in the next Spider-Man game, Daredevil pops up in any way and has a really key kind of side mission, or Daredevil plays a big part, not in the same way that we saw Taskmaster in the Spider-Man games, where it was just here and there little small missions. I think if anything, it could be Spider-Man's out of commission, you have to play as Daredevil for this one mission or whatever. That could maybe gauge excitement.
Sneaking around underneath desks.
Oh gosh, Jesus Christ! Maybe for it could gauge excitement for what Insomniac could do with the Daredevil game, possibly. But I don't see, the fact that one's in Canada and one's in New York. I guess they're close to each other, but I just don't. I feel like it would be. Canada, I feel like it'd be too much of a stretch. You know what I mean? To force it in.
And off of that, right? Like as we've been talking about this, I've been trying to think of ways of oh, what a cool crossover look like. In all the ways I think of are ways where I'm like, is that even worth it? Like the idea that came to mind was, if you could have it so that, Wolverine and Spider-Man take place around the same time, and there is one mission where it is, oh, it's tag team. Spider-Man and Wolverine are working together, and if you're playing Spider-Man, you're playing as Spider-Man, and if you're playing as Wolverine, you're playing as Wolverine for that mission. But like both games have that same mission. Even that is like, oh, that's a lot of work, and nobody wants to make that happen. As cool as that would be as a player, I don't know if that will then justifies the amount of dev work and dev time and figuring out timelines of both games and figuring out gameplay styles of both games to make them match up in that way.
And that's such a shoehorned in thing, right? Like, the Trogs have gone off in chat of like wanting to bump into Daredevil, right? Or Human Torch or whatever. Like, I would much prefer that rather than, hey, you know what? We're in the same universe as Wolverine. Let's force Wolverine to cross over. Isn't he in Canada right now? Wow. Well, he goes and does. I'd much rather it be that Spider-Man gets in over his head for real quickly. The tables turn, and then it's just poof, the dude gets knocked out with one of Wolverine's sticks, right? Or Daredevil's sticks. Then it's back there, and it's Insomniac's Matt Murdock that they've now introduced. They've introduced in this universe, in their gamerverse, right? That's what this is. And then if we want to spin something out and do DLC for Spider-Man 2 that is just Daredevil, Spider-Man's missing or something like that. That'd be cooler to me than trying to force Wolverine in.
Even
Daredevil Spider-Man's missing sounds incredible.
Yeah, that's
Ted Price, if you're listening, there you go.
It's like Mario's missing.
Even on just thinking about it on like an industry level of like not even just the Marvel games, but thinking about like could video games ever pull off something as big as of an MCU? And I just Andy, like what you're bringing up of like how just always shifting the industry is. It feels like almost impossible for it to do that. Like it's already hard enough on just the dev, like a singular dev level to, continue, a long going series and keep things in the same universe. For something to like fully pull off an MCU of video games, you need to have several studios, one person at the head of all of those studios who's also planning like the long overarching thing, like a Kevin Feige, who's also like checking in with all these studios. Like you would need a PlayStation that all they could do is like build up an MCU, and I don't think it's feasible.
I would think that it would need to all be under one publisher, and I don't think that anybody wants to do that. And that goes back to Greg talking about consolidation and how many third-party publishers, big third-party publishers, are going to be around in the next 10 to 15 years. And if you're talking about building something like this, you're talking about 10 to 15 years at least when it comes to how long it takes to make video games as opposed to movies. If it takes 3 to 4 years to make a new Wolverine game or a new Spider-Man game, how many of those are you then going to make to then make an Avengers, to then build toward Avengers 2 and all this stuff, right? And how long does that, the theoretical big third-party Marvel studio last to actually get there? I think that gets difficult.
And what about when one of the games is an Avengers, right? It is a flop. It isn't well received. It isn't, and it was one of your tent poles to build up this universe. And so now you announce, let's say they pick up right now. Let's say Wolverine is a failure, which of course it won't be. It's going to be fantastic. But there you go. It's been this buildup of we were waiting years to see it. It sucks. Now we have to wait years for the next installment, but how do they counteract the fact that was bad? What about all the games that get canceled behind the scenes, right? That you don't even know about. They planned it's going to be this 5-game thing, but 2 of those games got through prototype and they're like, oh God, this actually sucks. We don't want to do this. Your whole thing's fucked. You can't go that way.
And then you also get into the side of the reason why the MCU works so well is because it had a very low barrier to entry, right? Of the typical superhero movie that every once in a while a movie would deviate from that, right? You get a little bit of a different genre mixed into what we now call the MCU type of superhero genre, right? Whereas if you try to translate that into video games, then what? You're just playing like a third person action adventure over and over and over again, and that like, to keep that same level of like barrier of entry low, they would have to be the same types of games over and over again. And then like that also, kind of just like game development wise and design wise, that like becomes very uninspired. And like, how do you retain attention from audiences? And then if you try to avoid that by having them be different genres, right? And then people are like, oh, well, I didn't check out this because I'm really not into turn-based games, or I'm really not into Diablo likes with the Ultimate Alliance type games and stuff like that. That's another weird aspect specifically for video games that I think would be almost impossible to do an MCU equivalent type of thing.
My question then becomes, like, is it possible for Marvel to have the same foothold on video games that they do on movies? Because the movie industry, I feel like there's a percentage of it now that is Marvel, that is MCU, that are these movies. And right now for video games, it is, oh cool, yeah, we get a couple of first party PlayStation Marvel games between Spider-Man and Wolverine. Now EA has Black Panther that's coming up, that depending on who you ask, could be exciting, could be, oh man, EA. And the list goes on, right? Guardians and all that stuff. But I don't think we're at the point yet where it is like, oh yeah, Marvel has a foothold on video games. Do you think?
Well, I disagree. I think they do.
Oh, you think so?
I think it's one of those that we overlook a lot of it because it is in fact mobile stuff that we maybe don't care about. But as a DC fan, like, I was thinking about this the other day in the shower, right? Of like, Batman Arkham Asylum hits, it's a new world order for video games, and WB just moved at a snail's pace to capitalize on that, to the point that, what am I looking forward to now, right? I get Gotham Knights, okay. Next year I get Suicide Squad, which is based in the Arkham universe. So for this argument's sake, it is just a continuation of what's come before it, right? And then it's like, I get Wonder Woman from Monolith eventually. And it's like, okay, like, where is the Green Lantern game? Where is the Flash game? You get Injustice, of course, but where is the traditional Justice League game I'd want out of that? Like, I think, even I'm looking on Marvel.com and click on their thing, which is by Midnight Suns, Marvel Snap, Guardians of the Galaxy, Marvel Future Revolution, Miles Morales, Marvel Conquest of Champions. Like, there is and then here's the rest of them, like the crossover with Fortnite they're listing, which they should. Iron Man VR, Avengers, the Lego Marvel Collection, Ultimate Alliance 3, Spider-Man, Marvel Powers United VR, Conquest of Champions, like I said, Future Fight, Strike Force, Puzzle Quest, Marvel vs. Capcom, Guardians of the Galaxy, the Telltale thing we were talking about earlier, Marvel Pinball. Obviously, we are talking about a wide range of, that's a game that is exactly what I think of when I think of a superhero game, and then Marvel Pinball, no fucking way. But to the point, DC does not have DC games. It does not have DC Comics games. Image does not have Image games. There is not a, hey, what do you want? I'm so lucky that I fell in love with Marvel through the MCU, right? After not being a Marvel comic kid, because, and I guess, the Marvel cartoons or whatever. But like, now the idea that there is at least tons of Marvel games to play. And yeah, maybe they're a card game, maybe they're a third person AAA, Spider-Man game or whatever, but there is stuff out there to play. Whereas a Superman fan, I'm fucking playing Multiversus, I guess. You know what I mean? Like, back in the day, I had that shitty MOBA they made, Infinite Crisis. It's like, all right, you know what I mean? Like, where was the forward thinkingness of WB to be like, shit, we just knocked it out of the park with Rocksteady. Hire a Kevin Feige or Bill Roseman for Marvel Games, and let's fucking go. Let's get our properties out there. I feel like, there was a time there where it looked like DC had it together to an extent for what they were doing in terms of like video games, and they just gave up that ground. They gave up the high ground, and all the attention and energy is behind Marvel.
So with that, I totally feel you. I do think that with the mobile games and things like that, like, we all understand, like, that is a different conversation. Like, just looking at let's just say AAA games, and I would even include things like Ultimate Alliance in that, and I would also include things like Injustice in that as well.
Sure.
But looking at what Marvel Games has been doing, do you think that they are in their prime? Like, do you think that this is as good as it gets? Like, is it going to be, we get the Spider-Mans and the Avengers and the Guardians and take all those for what they are, and that, or do you think we're going to hit a point where we are going to expect that Black Panther is a good game just because Marvel Games is a part of it?
I expect Black Panther to be a good game because Marvel Games is a part of it.
And because Avengers was a bit of a flop.
They have learned lessons. Again, this just goes back to the difference between making a video game and making a movie. Excuse me. And how hard games are and how long they take. And that's not to say movies aren't hard, but you understand what I'm trying to say here. In the way that they get going, and like, Tim, we were talking about it. We were there for the Age of Ultron. MCU Phase 2. That's when this initiative for Marvel games launched. And now you are to a point where you look down the barrel of what they have coming out and you are excited about them, right? Because I'm thinking, if I look at this is chronological, right? So to go in the opposite order, right? Marvel Pinball, whatever. Guardians of the Galaxy with Telltale, whatever. Capcom, in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, Puzzle Quest, Strike Force. Again, yeah. I'm sorry, Infinite was?
Yeah, Infinite was bad.
I don't
Like,
know
that was
about
a misstep for the Marvel vs. Capcom.
But these are the wobbly steps and crawls you're seeing to get going, right? And so then it is Future Fight, which I think people like, but I don't know. Again, it's fucking mobile. I don't want to play that necessarily. Conquest of Champions, Powers United VR, but then Spider-Man, then Ultimate Alliance 3, then the Lego Collection, which is kind of here or there. Iron Man VR, which I enjoyed, like wasn't a bad game, had its problems, but whatever. Avengers, which reviewed well for single player.
The thing about Iron Man VR is it's a swing in the right direction, right? Yeah. Like,
and so that's the thing is, like, you want to talk about swings, then just talk about what you Ultimate Alliance 3, Iron Man VR, Avengers, Miles Morales, the Fortnite crossover, which you can't fucking not talk about how amazing that was. Future Revolution, which I burned out on super quick. I wish it had controller support. I'd probably stick around if it did. Guardians of the Galaxy, which was on so many people's Game of the Year list and people loved. Snap, which is having a lot of problems with monetization right now, but it's in beta, so we can't even really say it. Midnight Suns, Spider-Man 2, Marvel's Wolverine. So, I mean, right there, you're already talking about them taking a bunch of lumps, lessons, crawling so they can walk, so they can run thing. But I'm excited for Midnight Suns. I think it looks wacky and weird in terms of a gameplay thing, but I'm obviously infinitely more excited for Spider-Man 2, infinitely more excited for Wolverine. And then you like toss in there Black Panther, toss in there whatever the next few are going to be. And yes, there will be more mobile games peppered in there. There will be all sorts of, other things that are easy. You're turning them faster, getting them out easier. But that is exciting. And that is like, I think, telling a narrative of where they're going and the fact that in 5-10 years, we are going to look back and hopefully be like, holy shit, look at all the great games.
I hope so. I for me, when you read that list, right, I look at that list and in my head, if I were to contextualize that as if one publisher was making all those games, how would I view that publisher? And I would probably personally go, okay, that publisher is good to great, maybe not amazing. And a lot of that just comes with the amount of swings that they're making, and I think the swings are getting better and better as we go. But like we mentioned, Avengers didn't hit the way it should have hit. Guardians of the Galaxy was good, right? Not incredible, but I think it was a solid good. And then the Spider-Man games have been great. What I think what would make a Marvel Games Prime for me would be and this might just be impossible due to the nature of what Marvel Games is, but for me to look at them and go, oh man, I feel the way about this the same way I feel about PlayStation first party, where if I can get 2 to 3 games a year that are, these are 9s, these are 8s to 10s, right, out of a Black Panther game, out of a Spider-Man game, out of whatever other Marvel games that they're putting out, then I think that would be the magical place to be with Marvel. But I don't know if we can ever get there because of how Marvel Games works. And I also don't know if that's a problem because what other choices they have? They're not going to start a whole publisher just to like do the stuff themselves, because that's
the argument there, right? Where PlayStation first parties are being held to a different standard because it is, of course, Herman being up there talking to people studios he owns and operates, right, and they're able to do this, learn from each other, yada yada yada. Whereas Marvel Games still being, hey, we're partnering with third parties to license our work and be a part of it. You're going to get things that hit or miss on it, but you're also getting to the point that it's Marvel Games and it's Disney and it is, let's make money. And so it is going to be a bunch of mobile games that some of them hit for me and I love them. Some of them I would never touch. Some of them are 6s. Some of them are 9s. It'll be that whole range that is filling in the gaps between the big AAA tentpole stuff.
So, final question that I want everyone to ponder and answer. What do you think is going to be the better video game? Wonder Woman or Black Panther?
That's not fair.
I can go first on this, and this hurts me to say, but I think it might be Wonder Woman. Like, I think Monolith just has a better. We don't know anything about this EA studio. It's a brand new studio, and so I'm going off of the pedigree of EA. And right now, the one EA studio that I feel like is knocking it out the park is Respawn. And I do think that EA is looking toward Respawn to influence a lot of their upcoming single player stuff. And if all goes well, and if the amount of promotions they've given Vince Zampella work out the way they wanted to, maybe Black Panther hits and it is, oh shit, what Jedi Fallen Order is for Star Wars, this is for Marvel and Black Panther. That could be incredible, right? But I look at Monolith and I'm like, well, you guys put out Shadow of Mordor, and that was for me a fantastic video game. Shadow of War, I think for the most part was good, even though it had its problems. But I do think that WB and Monolith as a unit both have a better head on their shoulders than EA as a publisher currently. Like it's hard for me to look at that Black Panther game and get super excited. I hope it's good, and I'm pulling for it, but man, I don't know, man. I don't know where it's gonna end up landing.
I think they're both in similar spots because isn't the rumor that the leadership of this Seattle studio is former Shadow of War and Shadow of Mordor devs?
I think the lead director might be from Monolith.
Yeah, so I think they both have kind of a similar head on their shoulders. I would prefer to play the Black Panther game just because this premise that has been leaked interests me far more. Because it reminds me
people don't know what's the premise.
The premise is that Black Panther is dead and you are on your journey to become the next Black Panther. And it kind of reminds me of sort of story beats that I enjoy a lot in like the Mass Effect Dragon Age games, becoming the first human Spectre, or just sort of you are becoming through missions in this gigantic open world, gaining that notoriety and kind of like visiting small villages and being like, oh shit, you're gonna be the new Black Panther, aren't you? Like that excites me a lot more than what a Wonder Woman game would likely be. But it's also just IP. I have more interest in Black Panther as an IP, but I can totally tell that throwing a shield, Wonder Woman's shield and having it bounce off of everybody probably is gonna be dope as hell.
And also, murder people with your sword.
That too, yeah.
It'll be dope.
What about the lasso?
It'll be another cool thing. Yeah.
Cool.
And I think that's part of it, though. Like, so to debate the question, I don't think there's enough information on Black Panther to really go one way or the other with it. But the fact that because it's a new Seattle studio, right? Isn't that the rumor?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Right there. Like, I'm not saying that's a huge problem, but it's always when it's a new studio, that's like, okay, cool. Like, do you guys have chemistry together? Is this how much is getting left on the cutting room floor? They've been on this AAA project and that AAA project. Like, yeah,
will this game be canceled?
This is your first time working together on something. So what does that actually look like? Whereas Monolith has been around and again, has learned and made mistakes and I think learns from them and goes from it. I would say, yeah, obviously I'm in the tank for DC, as you all know, but I do love Black Panther. But I would think right now, if I had to bet, I would say Wonder Woman is probably going to be the better game. But again, we know nothing about Wonder Woman either. But it's also that idea of just like, I feel in so many ways, like, how we've kind of talked here too, that like Warner Brothers knows what WB Games, WB Interactive, right? Just the people who are at the top of the food chain of like, hey, we have a bunch of video games. They're aware their backs are to the wall. They're aware that Marvel Games is putting out a whole bunch of games. And yeah, they're not all 10s, but they're putting out a lot of games and making a lot of money. And what the fuck has WB Montreal been doing since Arkham Origins, right? Like, there's been a bunch of rumored and canceled projects that I've heard about and done things. And it's like, man, I would have loved to have played those games, but maybe they would. Are you holding it to needs to be a 9? What your Metacritic? Where does it need to go? So I don't know. The Wonder Woman thing I think is a really cool idea. I think Wonder Woman hasn't gotten her due in video games in the same way I know Black Panther hasn't. He was great in Avengers, but obviously Avengers is his own thing. I think it'll be really cool to see her, and I think her gameplay, especially on the success and how much people love, not even myself with how much I love her, but how much people love Cassandra in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I think really does lend itself to a really cool template for what Diana would look like. I think the idea of this whole, you're a person of two worlds with Themyscira and the humans opens us up to a really cool spot of where you could fight. I think Wonder Woman is a brutal warrior. So I think if the game is going to double down, and if we're talking about the Gal Gadot movies, right, have that no man's land kind of moment, right, of taking the shield and fighting back all the shit and having slow down to do that on Earth, and you're just fucking knocking people left and right. And again, Wonder Woman can be super brutal. I would imagine whatever the threat from Themyscira you're fighting are the more minotaur, weird ass orc kind of things, right? And there you're just going to be fucking lopping off limbs and killing people left and right. I think that could be really cool to give her that vibe to it.
And they've done that kind of thing before with Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War. Like they know how to get.
The Nemesis system is so fucking cool, and I think it is so It is. First
don't
off,
get me started on the Nemesis. Fuck. Nemesis was so cool. We've been saying that for ages, and then they fucking copyrighted it, and haven't seen a lick of it since.
Hey, man,
and
Wonder
that's
Woman.
the thing, right? Is like I think it's a dated idea that if you didn't play those games at launch, like you don't even know what we're talking about necessarily. And then it's also a thing that it's behind. And I'm not, Andy. I swear I'm not doing a bit or anything. It's behind a franchise that you're either into, or you're not into. And so I think there is a whole thing of locked away there, and like. Right now, superheroes are hot. Like they are still really popular and they are bigger than ever. And so to bring that out and take all the learnings from those games and, you know, the misses of Shadow of War and put them into this and see, here's a Wonder Woman game that is bridging these two worlds. It's got an awesome combat system. You're going to, you know, fuck up these, whatever they are, parademons or whatever they're going to be from another world that then come back and have a grudge and they have the, you know, the fucked up face and eye because you slashed them. Like that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tim, what about you? What do you think?
I mean, I think you guys are right on the money with this, where I think Wonder Woman is going to be the better game, most likely, but I am more interested in the Black Panther game. And the one thing that the hill that I'm going to die on, and I'm totally understanding I might die on this hill, but I said this on Games Daily, and I just want to say it again, that I think that the Black Panther game, you're going to be T'Challa. I think that the Black Panther that died is going to be T'Chaka, and this is going to be them separating from the MCU going a different direction. I think this is going to be them more similar to the Guardians game, where they're going to take comic storylines and kind of get a lot more nerdier and do the things that we're not going to see in the movies. I think they're going to take the T'Challa storylines and turn that into the game. That's way more interesting to me than a Wonder Woman game. But hey, unlike Greg, I'm a Marvel guy, so that's something that I'm looking forward to.
And for the record, yeah, I'm right there with you and Andy. That like I would prefer for the Black Panther game to be better. You know, I do not care about.
Can they both be great? Can they just both be great?
I would love for both of them to be great because I do like Monolith. But
I don't know about that.
Man, I need
Weird.
I need this Black Panther game to be awesome. But there's for me too with Black Panther, there's such a checklist of things that I need them to nail. You know, they say it's an open world game. I need that open world to be fire. I need that traverse to be fire. I need the style and the soundtrack and presentation to be fire. I also need there, like, this is a thing that I meant to bring up on Games Day that I forgot to bring up. I also need there to be like, you know, a good writing team and Black folks working on the game, because that for me is what elevated the movie to another level, is the vision of Ryan Coogler and how well realized that movie was, because they knew the right topics to touch on. They knew how to touch on those topics. They knew how to like write that story. They knew how the characters needed to interact. And that's the thing that worries me a little bit about this new EA studio. I hope that they have the right heads on their shoulders regarding that. I forget that they haven't officially announced it, so they haven't even gotten the chance to like talk about their staff or anything. But I hope it, when they do, you know, I hope that it is like, oh, by the way, here's who's writing it, here's who's leading it. Like we have the right folks for the job. That's another thing I think they'll need to nail as well. That, you know, a lot of it is tough with the Black Panther game, I think, even compared to the Wonder Woman game.
So, Bless, it's important to you that there's Black writers on Black Panther.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And that's why you played the Avengers game, right? Because of course, Narcisse wrote on that. So I mean, like, if you want more of that, you should probably support it when it happens. You know what I mean?
Let us know in the comments
sit on the fucking sidelines. You know what I mean? Just asking for things, then they give them to you, and you don't play them.
Damn.
Let us know in the comments what you think about Marvel games, DC games. Should there be an
PlayStation
MCU?
Plus right now? You can play it right now. You can play it right now with PlayStation Plus. I'll drop with you tonight. I will help you level.
Your ass though.
I hate it.
We are about to do our exclusive post show for the patreon.com/kindafunnygames, folks. Kinda Feudy. I am really excited. This kicks off season 3, I want to say. Of Kinda Feudy. And for everyone out there that doesn't know, it is one of my favorite things we do here at Kinda Funny. Greg Miller may or may not be the reigning champion. I don't know. You have to go watch to find out. But there is an entire backlog. Thank you. Of episodes that you can go check out, the post shows for the Kinda Funny Gamescast. If you go to patreon.com/kindafunnygames, if you support, you get all of the previous episodes. So go check that out. But we are about to record a brand new one. Until next time, I love you all. Goodbye.